Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Haley Estes. For those that don't know me, I blog at themountainviewcottage.net where I share farmhouse-inspired DIY decor and organization videos. And this is my introduction to furniture painting course. These videos go live every Thursday at 6 a.m. Mountain Standard Time here on my blog and my YouTube channel. Today we're going to be diving into one of the most crucial things when it comes to furniture painting, and that is all the tools and products that you need to successfully paint beautiful furniture. This does not include the paint or any of the products to actually paint the furniture, but rather the tools you need to make it happen. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up if you do, and follow my channel for more farmhouse inspired videos just like this one. Number one should be no surprise to anyone. It's a good paintbrush. I have used lots of different paintbrushes over the years, and it is true that not all paintbrushes are created equally. I highly recommend the Purdy brand paintbrushes. I'm not sponsored to say this. I simply just love these paintbrushes. I have used them for years to paint furniture, and the reason you need a quality paintbrush is simply that you will have a much smoother and beautiful application with a quality paintbrush. A paintbrush that doesn't have the quality fibers such as this one, it's not going to be as smooth and as fluid. And also the fibers tend to shed really bad on cheaper paintbrushes. I like to stick to the 2-inch width paintbrushes. I think they're a good size for all furniture painting projects. I also tend to gravitate towards the angled ones. I feel like I can get into some of the more detailed areas on pieces. You can get these paintbrushes in a couple different lengths of handles. This is the longer one, and then there's also a shorter one. I like them both for different reasons. The shorter one is great if you have to get inside like a cabinet and paint, or in a smaller, tighter area. The long one is a little more comfortable when you're painting the overall piece of furniture. So you just need to decide which one is right for you and your project. Once you purchase a good paintbrush, you obviously want it to last for a long time. And the way that I make that happen is by using this Murphy's Oil soap. I use this always to clean my paintbrushes after I finish a project or in between painting a project. It keeps your paintbrush almost like it's brand new. I've even had the experience of accidentally leaving my paintbrush out overnight and letting the paint sit on it and get completely hard. And this saved my paintbrush. All I do is just pour it into a mug and let my paintbrush soak in it overnight, and it gets all of that gunked on paint off of your paintbrush so that it's basically brand new. So this is going to save your paintbrush for so much longer. The next item on my list, and what I think is equally as important as a paintbrush, is a foam paint roller. I love using a foam paint roller, especially when I'm painting pieces of furniture with chalk paint. I will use it almost on 99% of the piece, and then we'll just go in with the paintbrush on some of the more detailed areas such as the corners. But I love a foam paint roller, and you will see in future videos why I love it so much and how often I actually do gravitate towards the foam paint roller. It doesn't work for all paint types, but it is a great tool to have for painting furniture, and it will make the application faster, smoother, all the things. I really love a foam paint roller, and I would highly suggest getting one. I'd also suggest getting a pack of the foam rollers because I use these for the top coat as well. And once you use a polyurethane on the foam paint roller, you have to just throw it away. You can't really clean it out. There's too much oil that sticks inside it for you to use it a second time. So you're gonna want a couple of these for your painted furniture projects. Next up for your painting tools is a foam paintbrush. This may seem pretty minuscule and unimportant when it comes to painting furniture, but I use these every single time I apply a top coat. I do not use it to apply the entire top coat, but this is perfect for getting in some of those little nooks and crannies where the top coat likes to pool, and getting that out of there before it dries. These are super inexpensive. You can get a pack of these for several dollars, and you will definitely use them when applying your top coats. Now, I know I just told you to invest in a quality paintbrush, but it is also sometimes beneficial to keep some crummy ones on hand as well. When you're applying your top coat, sometimes it's necessary to have a bigger brush, and this can also be really beneficial when you're applying waxes, such as the white wax or the dark antiquing wax. Having a more bristled brush like this can make those applications a lot simpler, so I would suggest having a crummy throwaway brush should you need one. The next item I would recommend is a foam sanding block. I use this for distressing my furniture, and I also use this for some of the prep work. You can get a pack of several of these, and I would suggest maybe just like a medium or fine grit sanding block so that you can use it for different areas on your furniture. If you're trying to get out some of the dings and scratches on a piece of furniture, this is probably not going to cut it. You're going to want to use an Orbital Sander, but a foam sanding block is going to be your friend when you go to prep and distress your furniture. Which brings me to my next product, which is a Orbital Sander. This is my well-loved Orbital Sander. It is the DeWalt brand. I have been using this for several years. I use it as a sign maker and use it every week on hundreds and hundreds of signs. This is a power horse and works amazingly well. I have used other Orbital Sanders, and this hands down works the best and lasted the longest, and will really make the prep work on your furniture painting projects so much faster and easier and give you a really beautiful final finish. You can't get that same finish with a foam sanding block, so you really do need one of these when you're prepping your furniture. Once you have an Orbital Sander, it does not come with sanding pads. I recommend getting a more coarse grain sanding pad as well as a finer grain sanding pad. The coarse grain sanding pad is really going to get all the imperfections off of your piece when you're prepping it, and then you're going to want to go in after you've used this with your finer sanding pads to really smooth it out, buff it out, and get your final finish before you go in with your paint. So this is a 220 grit sanding pad for your fine sanding, and this is an 80 grit for your more coarse and heavy duty sanding. When you're painting furniture, it's important to protect yourself, so I would suggest getting some of these really cheap face masks. You can invest in some that are a little more intense. This will help protect you from some of the chemicals and top coats if you use a top coat, and from all the dust and fumes that happen when you are painting furniture. Equally as important are some goggles. I tend to just wear my sunglasses because I do a lot of my painting outside. These will keep all the dust particles out of your eyes and keep you safe when you are painting furniture. Next up, get some sort of a paint pan to pour your paint into when you're painting with chalk paint. This is going to make it so that you have fewer drips and splashes when you're painting your furniture, because if you can really roll your paint off on the surface of your paint pan, it's going to make your paint go on a lot smoother. Obviously, this one's pretty nasty. I wouldn't recommend using one that's old and has tons of paint already in it. So maybe get a new one or throw away one for your upcoming furniture projects. Next up is a towel, some sort of an old towel or rag so that you can dust off your furniture before you go to paint it. If you've prepped it using any kind of sanding techniques, this is going to be crucial, and it's going to keep dust particles from ruining your paint. Okay, this is one of my favorite products, but it's probably not necessary. I think it's necessary, but it may not be necessary for you, and that is a leaf blower. I use a leaf blower every time that I paint furniture, and this helps me from having dust all over my furniture. I simply just blow it off with a leaf blower after I've finished priming it with any of my sanding techniques, and it gets the job done really quickly. I also paint outside, so a lot of the times leaves and particles will kind of blow up into my painting area, and so a really quick way to get those out of there is with a leaf blower. Like I said, not necessary. You could use a broom, but it's going to get the job done really quickly and make for a very clean painting surface and environment, and it's going to work like 10 times faster than a broom. So something to consider. Along the lines of prepping your area for painting a furniture project, you are going to want to have some sort of a drop cloth. I like these plastic ones because the paint does not seep through onto the concrete that I paint on, and they're only a couple bucks. Sometimes you can get them for as little as 99 cents. I just fold these in half on the concrete patio that I paint on, and then I secure them to the patio using some painter's tape. If you do not secure it to your work area, it will fly up and dust will get all over your furniture and ruin it before you have a chance to finish it. So make sure that you secure it to the floor using painter's tape or rocks, whatever you have on hand, but painter's tape is the easiest way to do it. It will make it a lot easier if you have to move your furniture around to paint it, and if you use a leaf blower like me to blow all your dust away. The next couple items are going to be specifically if you're using milk paint. So if you're not planning to use milk paint, then you can disregard these. The first thing I recommend is some sort of a cup to mix your paint in. Milk paint doesn't come pre-mixed, so you're gonna have to mix it, at least the kind that I use, which is Mrs. Mustard Seeds milk paint. And so I like to use a really simple plastic cup to do that in. I don't like to mix a big batch anyway, So this is perfect for mixing small batches to get your paint perfectly mixed for your project. Next is a frother. You can get these super cheap and they make mixing your milk paint really easy and helps you really mix it all together really well. You can also use a plastic spoon if you don't want to go out and buy a frother or you don't already have a frother. So a plastic spoon or a frother. I've used both, and honestly, this is just a little more convenient, but a plastic spoon does the job well. I typically paint my furniture outside, so I don't have access to water. So I like to have a pitcher of water on hand for when I'm mixing my paint as I go, because I mix small batches all throughout the painting process. I don't just mix one batch and use it for the entire milk paint piece. I use several different little batches of paint. Next up, I have a spackler. Now you may think, why the heck do you need a spackler when you're painting furniture? The truth is you do not need this tool. It's not completely necessary, but it is a great tool for distressing furniture, specifically that has been painted in milk paint. Milk paint kind of has a texture to it, so once you're finished painting it and it's dry before you distress it, I love to rub a spackler all along the edges of it and kind of lift up some of that paint so that it flakes off a little bit more. And a metal spackler helps get that job done. This is also another tool that may or may not be important for you depending on how you're painting your furniture, but if you need to remove the hardware on your furniture before you paint it, a set of screwdrivers is going to help get that job done. So make sure that you have some screwdrivers, chances are you already do, in case you need to remove the hardware in order to paint your piece. Once again, this is not a necessary product, but it is a product that I have used on several pieces of furniture, and that is deglosser. This is simply an alternative to sanding and will help you kind of get that shiny finish off a piece of furniture that you're maybe painting in milk paint. Milk paint tends to chip off on surfaces that are shinier, such as this hutch that I'm standing in front of. I used this deglosser on this hutch so that I could kind of dull the surface and make it a little bit more matte so that it would hold on to the paint a little bit better, and it worked beautifully for this hutch. This is great for really big pieces of furniture or really detailed pieces of furniture because it can really get into all those little nooks and crannies. So a deglosser is a great thing to have if you're using it to prep your furniture for paint. Next up, we have paint clothes, or in my case, my painted wiener dog apron. I use this apron for all my furniture painting projects so I don't continuously ruin all my clothes. You can dedicate an entire outfit to furniture painting, whatever you want, but having something to protect your clothes is probably a good idea, and maybe having a singular item so you don't have to ruin a lot of clothes, like an apron, is something that you may want to invest in, or take an old apron and retire it to your painting. Next up, you're going to need a paint can opener to open your paint. I think that's pretty much self-explanatory. Lastly, make sure that you pick up some stirring sticks for your chalk paints, because if you don't stir it properly, the way that your paint applies is going to be completely different than if you have stirred your can of paint. So make sure that you're stirring your can of paint with a stirring stick before you apply it to your furniture. That concludes my essential tool and product guide for painting furniture. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm really enjoying sharing this series, an introduction to furniture painting, with you guys. I hope you guys are enjoying it as much as I have enjoyed creating it for you guys. There will be another video coming this Thursday at 6 a.m. Mountain Standard Time here on my YouTube channel as well as my blog. Thank you guys so much for following along. I will see you next time.